Ben sat in the far corner of the Galactic Academy cafeteria. His tray of food was untouched. He had already heard the same jokes 3 times today. It was not even noon. A tall, blue-skinned cadet named Zorik walked past Ben's table and laughed. Loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Hey, Ben, still waiting for Earth to send you a real ship?" Zorik said. His friends burst into laughter. Ben didn't look up. He'd gotten used to this. They called him the Ghost Cadet, because they never saw him in combat sims. A joke that Earth's warships were made of wood and duct tape. Ben could have answered back. He could have told them that Earth believed in patience and timing, but they would only laugh more. The Galactic Academy was located in the heart of the Union, a place where the strongest species trained their best. Ben was the only human cadet this year. Most thought Earth got lucky in the lottery system. Allowed one low-tier world to send a cadet, no one believed Earth had a real fleet. To them, Earth was a small, backward planet still figuring out basic tech. The instructors didn't treat him any better. During training exercises, Ben was given basic roles: scout runner, come support, or cleanup monitor. He never got to pilot in simulations or command a squad. One time when he asked why, an instructor only shrugged. "Prove you're worth more," the instructor said. "Till then, stay in the back." The next day, Ben returned to his dorm and found it trashed. Someone had broken the lock and poured blue gel all over his books and uniform. Alien food wrappers were stuffed in his boots. A small paper note was left on the bed. It said, "Go home, Earthling." Ben didn't report it. He cleaned everything in silence. A small recording device near the wall watched him the entire time. It belonged to Professor Larn, an old alien who rarely spoke but noticed everything. The professor said nothing, only made a small note on his tablet and left. Later that night, Ben sat at his desk reading old battle logs from Earth. They weren't fancy, no glowing charts or perfect simulations, just real reports from real captains who had faced impossible odds. He respected those stories more than any academy lesson. Suddenly, his tablet beeped. It was a secured message. No sender name, just 3 words: "Fleet inbound." Ready Ben stared at the message. His heart beat faster. Quickly encrypted the reply. "I'm ready." He deleted the message history and locked his tablet. No one had seen it, but he couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in weeks, he felt a spark inside. Earth wasn't done. They were watching, and they were coming. The next morning, the academy buzzed with excitement. The annual War Pride demonstration was being announced. This was the biggest training event of the year. Cadets would form teams by species and show off their combat strength in a mock battle scenario. It wasn't real war, but close enough to impress the council. Ben knew what that meant. More jokes, more whispers. In the main briefing hall, all species were called by name. Valkar team, Ziffin squad, Drellian wing. The top species were cheered. Their fleets were large, shiny, and powerful. Ben's name was never called. A student asked the main instructor, "What about the human?" The instructor laughed. "He's not on the list. Earth has no fleet here." Some students chuckled. Others looked at Ben and shook their heads. One cadet from the feline-like Tyracy species asked, "Why is he even here?" Ben didn't respond. He just took notes. In the back row, Professor Larn watched him closely. After the meeting, Ben walked back to his dorm. The hallway was empty. But near his door, someone had drawn a stick figure wearing an Earth badge, bowing in front of a toy ship. It was childish. Ben sighed and erased it. He entered his room, closed the door, and whispered soon. Outside the academy, in deep space, just beyond sensor range, something massive was moving. Hundreds of ships in silent formation. No signals, no lights. Each one had a mark burned into its armor, a simple blue circle with a small green dot in the center. Earth's symbol. The next few days passed in a blur. The academy was buzzing with energy. Everywhere Ben walked, he heard cadets discussing strategies for the upcoming War Pride demonstration. Alien teams trained in groups, shouting commands and testing their weapons in the simulators. Giant holoscreens played clips of past events, flashing images of alien warships, fancy battle formations, and dramatic wins. Ben wasn't part of any group. His name wasn't on the list. He trained alone, didn't have access to the high-tech simulators, so he used old systems in the back corner of the academy. While others practiced with fleets of ships, Ben studied battle patterns and war theory. No one noticed. No one cared. One evening, while Ben sat at his desk reading, his tablet beeped again. Another message had arrived. This one had a timestamp and a location. Sundra Sector. 72 hours. Formation 88 to 12 confirmed. Maintain calm. He stared at it for a moment, then slowly nodded. The Sundra Sector was just behind the academies. Protected space. No one would notice a small shift in ship patterns not until it was too late. The next morning, Ben entered the cafeteria. His uniform was clean, his boots polished. Today, he didn't sit in the corner. Instead, he sat near the center where all the top cadets gathered. Most of them stopped eating and stared at him. Zorik raised an eyebrow. Lost Earthling? Ben looked around, just watching. Another cadet from the Garland species leaned. Forward? Watching? What? The academy? The future champions? Ben gave a small smile. You'll see soon, they laughed. Of course. One even joked. What's Earth going to do? Send a kite with rockets? Ben didn't respond. He picked up his tray and left quietly. But this time, Professor Learn had been watching from behind a pillar. He followed Ben out of the hall. Cadet Ben, the professor said. Stopping him in the hallway, Ben turned and stood at attention. Sir, you received something yesterday, the professor said calmly. A message from Earth. Ben's heartbeat skipped, but he kept a straight face. I don't know what you mean. The professor smiled, not unkindly. I believe. You do. You may think no one watches Earth, but that's not true. Some of us pay attention. Very closely. Ben stayed silent. Professor Lorne continued. You're not here just to learn, are you? After a moment, Ben nodded. No, sir. I'm here to observe and report. The professor's eyes lit up, and I assume you know what happens next. Yes, Ben said softly. They're coming. The professor didn't look surprised. Good. Let them come. The academy has grown lazy. It's too sure of its own strength. As he turned to walk away, he added, When it happens, cadet, make sure you're standing where they can see you. Finally, the day of the War Pride demonstration arrived. Giant ships hovered above the academy. The sky shimmered with force. Fields and sensor grids. Cadets stood in rows, dressed in bright uniforms, each color representing a different species. The crowd was loud and excited. Cameras floated around, broadcasting the event live to hundreds of worlds. Ben stood in the shadows near a wall, not included in any lineup. The speaker of the academy, a tall, being stood at the podium. Welcome, champions of the galaxy, the speaker announced. Today, we witness the strength, honor, and pride of the Galactic Union. The cadets cheered. Ships began to form into squads. Bright energy trails lit up the sky. First to demonstrate, the speaker continued, Team Ziffin, prepare. A squad of sleek red ships blasted forward. They weaved between obstacles, showing speed and skill. They hit targets with near-perfect precision. Next came the Tyracy Swarm. Their ships moved like a single creature, fast, sharp, dangerous. The crowd roared. Then the Drellian blasters fired up. Their ships were heavy, but powerful. They used gravity weapons that bent light. One by one, every team showed off their power. Explosions, light trails, and cheers filled the sky. When the final alien team landed, the speaker raised his hand. And now, the Galactic Academy would like to thank all, but a voice interrupted him. Not from the podium, from the sky. This is Commander Rourke of Earth Fleet Command. We request demonstration clearance. Everyone froze. The speaker looked up. Earth, you have no ships on record. The voice replied, calm and clear. We do now. Suddenly, alarms began to beep. Long-range sensors screamed. The sky darkened. 520. 100 ships appeared on the edge of the simulation zone. then more, hundreds, perfect formation, silent, glowing only with soft blue lines. They weren't simulations. They were real. 1,200 ships strong, the crowd gasped. Double quotes identity confirmed, the Academy tech officer shouted. They're all from Earth, speaker stammered. But Earth has no such fleet. The sky shifted. Every screen lit up with one signal, Earth fleet. A final message came through. To the cadets of the galaxy, let us show you what Earth calls a demonstration. Ben stepped forward from the shadows. His plain uniform now looked different in the light of 1,200 ships behind him. His silence was over. The sky above the Galactic Academy had never looked like this. The bright colors of the war demonstration were gone. Everything was dark blue and still. Thousands of cadets, instructors, and visitors stood frozen in place, eyes locked on. The fleet slowly moving into view. 1,200 ships, silent, perfect, real. Each ship moved like it had practiced 1,000 times. No shaking, no delay, no confusion. It was like watching a wall of stars shifting across the sky. Coming closer and closer to the Academy's airspace. Zorrik, the cadet who always laughed at Ben, stood with his mouth half open. He tried to say something, but no words came out. Beside him, the other top cadets, who once teased Ben, stared in silence. A voice echoed again through the air, this time louder. This is Commander Rourke. We ask permission to begin a tactical flight demonstration. The speaker of the Academy, clearly shaken, tried to respond. Earth, ... This was unexpected. We didn't. Commander Rourke interrupted calmly. Our fleet is not here to fight, only to educate. With that, the ships began to move. The first group, about 100 ships, broke formation and split into two. They weaved through the sky in tight spirals, dodging small asteroids brought in for the simulation. Their engines didn't scream or flash. They moved in smooth, quiet patterns, like dancers following invisible steps. Then another group began a coordinated attack drill. They surrounded 10 large moving targets placed in space by the Academy for the war game. Each Earth ship fired. One clean shot. Just one. All 10 targets were destroyed within 3 seconds. No extra damage, no missed shots, no wasted time. One of the alien instructors whispered, "That's not just accuracy, that's discipline." The rest of the crowd watched in total silence. No one moved. No one cheered. They couldn't. The display was too perfect. Too sharp, it didn't feel like a show. It felt like a warning. Then came the last group, the command fleet. Larger ships, maybe flagships. They stayed back near the edge of the zone. Their presence alone felt heavy, like a mountain waiting to move. One ship had a symbol on its hull that no one could ignore. Earth's United Fleet mark, clear and glowing. Suddenly, all 1,200 ships stopped, then they aligned. Row by row, creating a perfect grid in the sky. A final message echoed. We don't seek applause. We seek recognition. Our cadet, Ben Carver, has been your guest. He did not complain. He did not argue. He observed. Now Earth speaks with action. The Galactic speaker stepped forward, struggling to find words. Earth, ... This is impressive. But we must ask, where were these ships? Why were they never recorded? Ben finally stepped onto the stage. He stood straight, his voice steady. You never looked. You assumed we were weak. That's your mistake. A hush fell over the Academy. Professor Larn, who had remained silent until now, walked to Ben's side and spoke to the audience. For years, we judged strength by noise, color, and pride. Earth showed none of those, so we laughed. But today, they showed precision, power, and control, and we are silent. It tells you everything. Some cadets lowered their heads. Others looked around, unsure what to do. Zorrik stepped forward. For the first time, he didn't speak with pride or anger. He looked at Ben and said, "We were wrong." Ben gave a small nod. Now you know. Above them, the ships remained still. Not a single one had moved without reason. Not one had fired without purpose. The galaxy had seen hundreds of fleets before. Some huge, some strange, some built for show. But never had anyone seen this a force built not to impress, but to win. And the message was clear. Earth had never been weak. They had only been waiting. After the demonstration, silence held the entire academy like a heavy blanket. No one spoke. Even the loudest cadets, the ones who always made jokes, kept their mouths shut. It was not fear that filled the air, it was something stronger. Respect. The Earth fleet stayed above the academy, unmoving. It wasn't threatening. The ships didn't aim weapons. They just hovered there, quiet and disciplined. Like guardians that had simply appeared to remind the galaxy they existed, Ben walked back through the main halls. Students stepped aside as he passed. Some nodded at him. Others looked down, ashamed of how they had treated him. Ben didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Everything that had to be said was already done above them in the sky. Inside the Academy's War Council room, highest-ranking instructors and officers sat in a circle. All of them looked serious. For years, they had trained cadets from the strongest species. They had never considered Earth important. Now, they weren't so sure. "We need to update our rankings," one officer said. "Earth clearly doesn't belong in the low-tier list. We never asked to be moved," another replied. "They never asked for anything. They just watched." Professor Lauren, seated at the end of the table, finally spoke. That's what made it so powerful. They didn't show off. They waited. When the time was right, they let the fleet speak for them. The room fell quiet again. "What should we do now?" one asked. "Simple," said Lauren. "We show them respect. Real respect." Ben sat alone on a bench near the Academy's garden dome. He stared up through the glass ceiling at the Earth ships still hanging in the sky. Didn't smile. He didn't relax. This wasn't a victory. It was a reminder. A small group of cadets walked up to him. Zorik was with them. His usual smirk was gone. He looked nervous. "Hey, Ben," he began, awkwardly. Ben turned to look at him but said nothing. Zorik rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, I just wanted to say we were wrong. About you. About Earth." Ben stayed quiet, waiting. Another cadet stepped forward. A girl with purple skin and bright yellow eyes. "We never thought you were worth much. But that fleet." She paused. "I've never seen anything like that." Zorik sighed. "You didn't deserve how we treated you." Ben nodded slowly. "You're right, I didn't." The group stood silently, unsure if they should leave or stay. Then Ben added, "But I don't hate you. You just needed to see it. Now you have." Zorik gave a small, relieved laugh. "Yeah, now we have." On the Academy's highest tower, the Galactic Council's broadcast drones locked onto the Earth fleet. The footage had already been sent to hundreds of worlds. By now, millions were watching. Every commander, every politician, every soldier. Earth's fleet had entered the spotlight without warning. They didn't bring speeches, they brought order. They didn't show wild power, showed control. On one screen, a famous alien war leader leaned forward, eyes wide. "They didn't just train fighters," he whispered. "They trained thinkers." In another sector, a rival empire paused its war games and studied the Earth formation. A general looked at his team. "It's not just a fleet," he said. "That's a lesson." Back at the Academy, a new announcement came from the loudspeakers. "Attention all cadets. By order of the High Council, Earth's cadet Ben Carver is now recognized as the lead representative of his species at this institution. He will join the Leadership Council effective immediately." Ben was standing in a hallway when the message played. Students turned to him. Some clapped. Others simply watched with respect. Professor Lauren approached him with a small smile. "Congratulations," he said. Ben looked surprised. "I didn't ask for a title. You didn't need to," Lauren said. "Your actions earned it." "Wasn't me," Ben said. "It was the fleet." Lauren nodded. "Yes, they came because they trusted you. That means something." Ben looked back at the sky one more time. The ships had begun to move again, this time slowly pulling away, vanishing into space the same way they arrived, calm and without sound. but their presence was still felt. Ben turned to Learn. "What happens now?" "Now," Learn said. "Now the galaxy stops laughing at Earth." After the Earth fleet left, the Academy was no longer the same. The once noisy halls had grown quiet. Cadets spoke in softer tones now. They no longer bragged about their species' strength. Instead, they whispered about Eartha, about Ben, about the 1,200 ships, and about how no one had seen it coming. Ben had become a quiet legend. Not because he made speeches or wore medals. He didn't walk with pride or try to stand above the others. He just showed up every day, attended classes, and trained like before. But now, every step he took carried weight. Every word he spoke made others listen. The Leadership Council, where top cadets and instructors met weekly, had changed too. Ben now had a seat at the table, and he didn't know what to say when he entered. Some tried to act normal, but their eyes always showed a mix of curiosity and caution. One day, during a council meeting, a Drellian cadet asked the question everyone had been thinking: why did Earth keep their fleet a secret for so long? Ben looked around the table. "'Cause Earth doesn't fight for attention. We fight only when we must." Another cadet leaned forward. "But your fleet, it's powerful. It could change the balance of the galaxy." Ben replied calmly, "Only if others push us to use it, we prefer peace. But we prepare for war." The room fell quiet again. Professor Lern nodded from his seat. "That's what makes it dangerous and wise." Across the galaxy, news about the Earth's fleet spread fast. Some governments tried to downplay it. They said it was a rare trick or a lucky show. But those who studied the demonstration knew better. Earth had revealed only a piece of what they could do, and that piece had been enough to silence the most powerful voices. A few Empire leaders requested meetings with Earth's diplomats. Some wanted peace talks. Others simply wanted to understand how Earth had hidden so much strength. Earth answered each request with patience and calm. "We never hid," said one Earth ambassador. "You just never looked." Meanwhile, back at the Academy, new cadets arrived. This time, 5 more humans joined the program. They were placed in higher classes immediately. No one questioned it. In fact, many cadets tried to befriend them. Everyone now wanted to understand how humans trained, how they thought. How they fought. Ben was asked to give a lecture to the new batch of first-year students. He stood at the front of a large hall facing hundreds of young cadets from different species. "Many of you," he began, "think strength comes from power, but real strength comes from control, from patience, from knowing when to attend, when to wait." Hand rose in the back. A small cadet from a peaceful water species asked, "How do we learn to be like Earth?" Ben smiled slightly. "You don't need to be like Earth. You need to understand your own path. But if you want to learn something from us, never underestimate the quiet ones. We're the ones who prepare while others laugh." The crowd clapped, not loud, but steady and real. A few days later, Ben was called to the central command tower of the Academy. He entered a room where high officers stood, looking at a large screen. Red lights blinked along the map. "There's been movement," said the command officer. "Unknown warships gathering near the neutral border. No official flag, but aggressive formation." Ben narrowed his eyes. "Pirate coalition?" "Maybe," the officer said. "But this time, they're larger than usual, enough to threaten nearby colonies." Professor Lern stepped beside Ben. "The council wants to send a message, but they need a voice that carries weight." Ben understood. New message was sent from the Academy, signed by Ben himself. "To the unknown fleet, this is Cadet Representative Ben Carver of Earth. We saw what you're building. Don't make the same mistake others did. Turn back. Now, no threats. No weapons. Just a warning." 2 hours later, the enemy fleet disappeared from the scanners. No one knew where they went. But the message had been received. Earth didn't have to fire a shot. Their presence was now enough. Zorik met Ben that evening in the Academy courtyard. "They're scared of you," Zorik said. "They should be scared of what we stand for," Ben replied. "Not me," Zorik nodded. "You know, I used to think Earth was weak. I think it's just quiet. It's like a storm before it breaks." Ben looked up at the stars. "We don't want to break anything, but we'll never be broken again." The Galactic Academy had changed forever. Ben walked through the halls with a quiet confidence. No one called him names anymore. Instead, students from many species greeted him with respect. Some even asked for advice or training help. Ben never refused. He remembered how hard it was when no one believed in him. The Academy's leaders had rewritten their books. Earth was no longer the primitive world. It was a power everyone now watched closely. Classes were added to study Earth's tactics and discipline. Other species wanted to learn from humans. One day, Ben was invited to speak at the Galactic Council, a great hall filled with leaders from hundreds of worlds. The lights shone bright on his face. Thousands of eyes watched. Ben took a deep breath and spoke. For many years, Earth was ignored, laughed at, seen as weak. But we knew our strength was not in noise or flash. It was in preparation and patience, and standing ready when others were careless. He paused and looked around. Our fleet is not the largest, not the most colorful, but it is the most disciplined, the most controlled. We do not fight for glory. We fight to protect, to keep peace, to never be caught off guard again. The crowd was silent, then slowly began to clap. Sound grew louder. Respect filled the room. After the speech, many leaders came forward to speak with Ben. They wanted to form new alliances, to learn how to train their fleets like Earth's. Back at the Academy, new human cadets arrived every year. Ben helped train them. He shared the lessons he learned, not just about ships and tactics, but about patience and honor. One evening, Ben stood on the Academy's observation deck, looking up at the stars. The quiet night sky stretched endlessly. Zorik joined him, now a friend rather than a rival. You changed everything, Zorik said softly. Ben smiled. We all did. Earth's fleet showed the galaxy a new way, one where strength is quiet but never weak. Zorik nodded. Maybe next time no one will laugh. Ben looked out at the stars again. Hope not, because the galaxy is bigger than we ever knew, and it's time we all stood ready. The stars twinkled above like silent watchers. Somewhere far away, Earth's ships moved quietly through space, prepared for whatever came next. And for the first time, the galaxy knew one thing. For sure, humans were no longer the underdogs. They were the storm.